So welcome to the show, Marcus Sheridan. This is the Huge Live Show. I'm really glad you're here. How, aside from the storm at your house, how are things going?
Man, well, thank goodness for home generators, and, the thunder is rolling outside. We got a tree down across the driveway, but it's all good, man, and I'm excited to be, talking about the subjects that we're gonna be discussing tonight because it's a big deal. There's a lot of change happening in the world right now. Businesses feel a little bit confused, right? So, this is an important time in the history of the world, and there's a lot of opportunity for those that understand how to take advantage of those opportunities. So yeah, I'm ready to get into it, buddy.
Oh, okay, good. So, excuse me. For those of you joining us live, thank you very much. Our guest tonight is Marcus Sheridan. Marcus, you're going to be our one of our keynotes at the huge convention on Friday, August 22nd. I hope I did that. Yeah, August 22nd. And I'm really looking forward to it because a couple of years ago, a buddy of mine's got a substantial business in Denver. He's like, hey, you got to check out this book. It's probably familiar to you. They Ask You Answer. And this is the
Yeah.
first one that you published in 2017. Um, and I'm like, well, that sounds so simple. And he's like, it is simple. Like the concept is like, it's
Yeah.
just truth and it's way human nature works. So um, with that, you mentioned like things are moving really fast right now. And I was excited. I did get a copy of your second book, the one that's just released April
Yeah.
15th this year,
Yeah.
Endless Customers. With the speed and challenge of changes in business and internet and AI and in short attention spans, let's start with what are the principles for business or for the methodology you teach? Like, what are the principles that are never going to change, no matter what technology does?
Yeah, and I think that's I like the question a lot because you can build businesses on platforms temporarily, or you can build them on principles forever. And when it comes to your sales and marketing strategies, you really want to be principle driven. So that's why if I said to you as a business, is trust going to be fundamental to your organization in 5 years? You'd say yes. 10 years, you'd say yes. 20 years, you'd say yes. If I said, is Facebook going to be fundamental in 5 years? You'd say, I have no idea. Google, I don't know, right? Because these are
Yeah.
platforms that are going to come and go. But trust is the centerpiece of every business. It's the battle that we're in every single day. So, Endless Customers, the payoff of that book, it is a system that shows you how to become the most known and trusted brand in your market. And these are components of business that are truly built to last, and they're going to be evergreen in terms of their importance. And that's why, you know, whenever you're debating about a sales or marketing strategy, one of the first questions you should start with would be, yeah, but if we did this, would it induce more trust? The answer is yes. Well, then you need to go in solution mode and stop saying to yourself, well, there's no way we could do this.
Yeah, 100%. So, and I'm going to segue a second. As you're joining us live, guys, thanks for being here. First of all, go ahead. We're going to give away a couple of tickets to the huge convention later in the show, about 15, 20 minutes from now. And if you would like to win a ticket, all you need to do is this. One, go ahead and take this live stream and share it into a group or two that you frequent. And then just report back and hit in the comment and say, hey, I'm here. I shared it in the group. And then we're going to ask a question later. The first person to answer, of course, wins the ticket. It's going to be fun. So we're going to do that in just a few moments. Excuse me. So we go back to like the root of the issue is trust, and the old sales strategy forever, or just business strategy, or saying that people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
That's right. Yeah, it's
How do
never going
we?
to go away. It's more true than ever today.
Yeah. So I've got a handful of questions for you, and we'll just, like, if it's okay with you, we'll just run and see how the conversation goes,
We'll see where it
and
goes.
try not to make it super standard. But with one of the core principles in They Ask You Answer, and what you did with the pool company in 2000. Did you start the concept in 2008 when the economy tanked?
That's right. That's right. I started a swimming pool. For those that are listening, I started a swimming pool company called River Pools in 2001. We have the crash of 2008. Looks like we're going to lose the business. We ended up really leaning into the changing buyer and this thing that today we might refer to as content marketing, inbound marketing, whatever you want to call it. But make a long story short, we became obsessed with our customers' questions, worries, fears, issues, concerns. We said, we're going to be the best teachers in the world when it comes to, in our case, fiberglass swimming pools. And we became like the Wikipedia of pools, if you will, the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. And that framework, which I called They Ask You Answer, became a book. That book became a bestseller. And now the third edition is actually called Endless Customers. So that's the timeline of what has been 20, 20 years.
Yeah, there's some up 2 decades in a sentence.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so with one of the principles there was, extreme transparency, and
Mhm.
a lot of people are not really, maybe they're not, they're so comfortable with being transparent. In the world of social media, people like to look good and be, that you see the highlight reel online. Extreme transparent, like, how far do you go?
Well, I mean, to me, this is just really, really common sense. I mean, if you are being asked the question by your potential customers, then I believe it's your fiduciary to address those things online, to not ignore them, to not be the ostrich with your head in the sand, right?
Yeah.
And really, in the book, Endless Customers, we teach that there's 4 pillars of a known and trusted brand. So if you want to become the most known and trusted brand in your market, really, you can follow this system. On the surface, it's going to sound simple, Sid, but as we get into it, you'll see the complexity. So, number one, first pillar, you got to be willing to say what others aren't willing to say online. All right. We'll
Mhm.
talk about that in a second. Number two, you got to be willing to show with video what others aren't willing to show. And that's again, sounds simple. Most aren't doing it. Number three, you got to be willing to sell in a way that others aren't willing to sell. And then finally, number four, you got to be more human than others in your space are willing to be. So, those are the 4 pillars of a known and trusted brand. Now, getting back to your transparency question, let's look at say for a second in show, but what we teach and They Ask You Answer now Endless Customers. It's basically 5 subjects that buyers are obsessed with. You, me, all of us, when we research stuff online, we want to understand 5 fundamental things. It's what we always research. It's what we want to know before we reach out. Here are the 5. Number one, as buyers, consumers, we want to understand costs.
Mhm.
The first question of the buyer's journey, once someone realizes they have a problem. So the second somebody says, I think I might want to, like redo our kitchen. I think we might need a new roof. Whatever the thing is, first question is roughly how much
How
is this
much
going
is
to
it?
cost?
Yeah.
That is the gateway of the buyer's journey, my friends. That's the gateway. Unless people move through the gateway, you got nothing. So that's the first question. Many people, if they don't get that addressed in a way that helps them understand, okay, I get a sense now for where I am, they won't move forward. So that's the first one, cost. Second one is problems slash worries or fears. You see, when anyone is thinking about buying something, now all of a sudden they say, yeah, but what could go wrong? Okay.
Mhm.
Problems, worries, fears. So we'll call it problems. That's number two. Number three of the big 5 is comparisons. We, as consumers, buyers, we're obsessed with comparing stuff. We're constantly comparing this versus that, company versus company, brand versus brand, method versus method, material versus material. I mean, it just goes on and on. We love to compare. Number
Yeah.
4, reviews. We're obsessed with reviews. The thing about reviews is we want the good, the bad, and the ugly, not just the good. And finally, number 5, best. Best, most, top, anything that allows us to rank what we're looking at in some type of order so we get a sense for what's the best, what's the worst. Think about how many times, if you're listening to this, have you gone online and researched best plus another phrase? Happens all the
Yeah.
time. So cost, problems, comparisons, reviews, best. Those are the big 5. That's what people want to know. And incredibly, most businesses still don't want to talk about it. You look at most folks in the home improvement space, home contracting space. If I asked them right now, if I said to them, do you address do you heavily address and teach about the cost and price of your products and services on your website right now? Most are going to say no.
No.
If I said, do you address some of the biggest fears that people have when it
Mm.
comes to that thing? So let me give you an example of that. Let's say you sell metal roofing, right? So some of the biggest fears are: what are the problems with the metal roof? Does the metal roof rust? Is the metal roof ugly? So these are things. Have you addressed those online? Probably not. Comparisons. Are you comparing your product versus the other major products that people are looking at?
Yeah.
Probably not, right? It's like this is the thing, but that's what everybody wants to know. So when we talk about radical transparency, that's what we're saying, Sid.
Yeah. Well, when I first read They Ask You Answer, one thing, I mean, it seems so simple, but it surprised me. You guys do fiberglass pools, everybody else doing concrete pool or whatever. Like, those are the 2 main categories. And You just answered the question, what can go wrong with fiberglass pool? Right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, anything that you could think of, we address it. Are fiberglass pools ugly? Are fiberglass pools cheap? Do fiberglass pools pop out of the ground? Does a fiberglass pool look like a bathtub? I mean, if somebody was worried about it, we were going to address it
Yeah.
because if we didn't do it, guess what? We're giving the ownership of that conversation to someone else. And I don't know about you, Sid, but I don't have any desire to have my potential customers learn from my competitors or from some third party site. No, sir. I want them
Yeah.
to learn from me.
Okay, and I actually hadn't thought about it that way, but I mean, who's the expert in your field? Like whoever's watching and listening, like if you're the expert in window cleaning or roofing or whatever, like for God's sakes, don't let them learn about it from someone else.
That's
That's
always
not.
the choice you have. Now, some people might say, well, that really doesn't matter now, Marcus. They're getting their answers from AI anyway. Oh, well, I would push back because for those that are getting it on AI, guess what? AI, especially ChatGPT, does a pretty solid job sourcing where it gets its information from.
Yeah.
And so I know, Sid, you've clicked links off of ChatGPT to go to the website. I have clicked links. Probably do it every single day. And I'm getting leads constantly from ChatGPT right now. So the fact is, you want to own the conversation. It, let's look like this. For 20 years, we had to get recommendations by two essential parties to be a successful business. Number one, the homeowner. Number two, Google. The way we
Mhm.
got recommendations from Google was twofold. Number one, SEO/content marketing. Number two, paid ads. Then suddenly, November 2022, ChatGPT comes out and it's starting to immediately shift people away. Everyone that's listening to this right now is using Google less today than they used it in November of 2022 because if you have half a brain, you quickly realize, oh, I have a better user experience over here. And so, what does that mean? What it means is a, you shouldn't build your house on Google, at least for the future, because if you do, you're going to be sorely disappointed at some point. Okay.
Mhm.
And many of you are listening to this and saying, geez, I'm paying more on Google Ads right now than I've spent in a long time. I'm getting less results and I'm having a harder time from a SEO perspective to get visitors to my website. Well, that's because of all this stuff that is AI answers, and where the buyer's headed. Right.
Yeah.
So, what does that mean? It means that you must get AI recommendations. This is going to be the thing that's going to drive your business in the future. And then you say, well, what drives AI recommendations? We call them trust signals. These are all the signals that are put out to the digital universe that essentially say, is your company trustworthy? An example of a trust signal is Google reviews. An example of a trust signal is the information, the content that you have on your website. And I could go down the list. In fact, I have an extensive list. I'll probably share it huge of the fundamental trust signals that matter the most to get AI recommendations.
Okay. Okay, so you're already crossing. You're dipping into what I was going to ask next. It was like and you've got a chapter about it, endless customers. Like, in what do you do in a no-click world where you
That's
do a
right.
search and you just get the summary and you read the AI summary at the top. And you're like, okay, got my answer, and you move on. Like, what do we? Let's start with trust signals of reviews. Like, where's the value and how much importance should we put it in these transitional times with
Yeah.
like focusing
If
on
you don't
reviews
have a
versus AI?
program, yeah, if you do not have a engineered program of some type right now within your company to get reviews from every single possible customer you can, then you're missing the opportunity.
Yeah.
Right now, customer reviews are the number one, at least what I have on my list, the number one trust signal for AI recommendations. All right. This is especially true for home contractors. Now, if you're listening to this, you might say, well, that's kind of the way it's been with Google Maps and reviews and whatnot. Yeah. All right. It's a major trust signal, which
Yeah.
also means, though, that every single review you get, you should be answering
Yeah.
as a standard, automatic, right?
Yeah.
Good, bad, ugly. But the problem is, as we know, a lot of folks in the home improvement space aren't even like, they're not soliciting the reviews like they should be, and they might have done 1,000 jobs and they have 75 reviews.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all. That is not the way it should be. We got to do better than that.
Yeah. And I'll use our company as an example on that. It was like, I think 4 years ago, we said, dude, I just made a goal for us. And like, we have a window cleaning company in Montana. And like, we got to focus on reviews, because that
Mhm.
is like, what does everybody do if they're looking at a restaurant, whatever? They're like, look at the reviews. And people are like, no, 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 word of mouth. I'm like, we're going to kill it with reviews.
Yeah.
We made it a contest. And now our goal then was we should always have 10 times more reviews than the number 2 player.
Beautiful.
And that became more difficult, as it's like that guy gets 1 and we got to get 10 more. But now we've got 650 reviews. The next guy's got 90. The next guy's got 40. Everybody else in the marketplace, there's not that many. We're a small town, but 18 window cleaners, everybody has 10 or less. And I just can't fathom why you wouldn't like capture something that's
Yeah.
just free for the asking, to make yourself, to boost your online reputation. It's silly.
Well, I love but you notice what you said there, right? And for our listeners, Sid designed a program. He made it a contest. He incentivized it, and now he's at 600 plus. He's crushing, right? He's 500-ish ahead of his closest competitor. That's lights out, baby. I mean, and that's because you've been so intentional about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the number one trust signal. There's many others. I have some that are in my top 5. One of my top 5 is helpful or original thought leadership style content.
Mm.
Specifically, the Big 5, all right? The Big 5. That's another one that is, in my top. One that might surprise everyone right now, but this is gonna be table stakes for home improvement, home services, and that's, pricing estimators.
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot in the book. There's a stat that is so powerful, Sid. 75% of all buyers today say they would prefer to have a seller-free sales experience. So this
Wow.
number's growing by
Yeah.
the day. What it means is it's not that we hate salespeople. We just don't want to talk to a salesperson until we're confident, comfortable, and we feel like we're not going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And so, with that being the case, as a business, you say to yourself, all right, I can either complain about this or I can take action on it. I can do something about this. And of course, the way that you can do something about it is leaning into this self-service, because buyers want control.
Yeah.
Now, in the book, we talk about 5 types of self-service tools, and of course, I'm going to lean into this at huge. But let me just talk about one right now, which is so powerful: self-pricing tools, i.e., calculators on your website. Now,
Mhm.
before anybody freaks out and says there's no way I could do that, because I was talking to an agency the other day who only works with home contractors, builders, etc. And he said, I talked to my community and I said, how many of you think we should be addressing pricing on our website? And 70% said, no, we shouldn't. And I said,
Mm.
you asked the question the wrong way,
Yeah.
because, and I could, hopefully everybody here, reads the Ask You Answer Endless Customers, because you're going to see some mind blowing case studies on this. Um, if I said to you, if you could right now increase your leads from your website by 3 to 500% automatically,
Do it.
would you put a pricing estimator tool that gives a general range so that the homeowner can say, okay, now I have a sense for what it's going to cost?
Yeah.
Now, if you're still saying no to that, I can't help you any further.
Excuse
I've
me.
got the data on this. I started a software company called Price Guide,
Yeah.
and this is what it does. We have a mountain of data on this now, Sid. 3 to 500% when companies and home improvement add a pricing estimator to their website. This honestly is the biggest no-brainer in the history of Earth, and it is immediate. It almost costs you nothing to add. It's
Yeah.
extremely inexpensive, and you get so much financial impact quickly. So the problem is when people hear this conversation of pricing, and oh, by the way, when we go back to those pillars, when you discuss pricing online, that's saying what others aren't willing to say, showing what others aren't willing to show, and selling in a way others aren't willing to sell. This is all 3 of those, and I could argue be more human. But when it comes to pricing, you have this like group that says, "Oh, I'm going to put myself in a corner." You're not giving an exact quote. There's a difference between a quote or proposal and an
An
estimate,
estimate.
my
Yeah.
friends. And you gotta understand the difference. So
Yeah.
if you look at an estimator tool, what it does is it's going to give a range. So if you went to the River Pools website right now, riverpoolsandspas.com. You can build and price your pool. Now, we were the first manufacturer of fiberglass pools in the world that had a pricing estimator tool on the website. And everybody said, well, you can't do that because you got dealers and they set the end price. There's no way you can do it. I'm like, of course we can do it. We just got to give a range. So
Yeah.
you might go on there, you'll build your pool out, and you'll get a range. That range might be $110,000 to $150,000. But guess what? That range is way more than any other contractor or any other manufacturer is going to give you. It allows us to capture the lead. So that's the beauty of the trade. The trade is you're giving the homeowner much more value than they're able to get anywhere else, right? Because they're getting a general estimate, which is that first gateway question, right? That's the entryway.
Yeah.
And now they are thrilled. You got the email, so you can remarket, you can re-nurture, and everybody wins for it. My promise, and I mean this, Sid, within 5 years, 90% of all home improvement, home services businesses are going to have a pricing estimator on their website. Mark my words. And I've not been wrong very much with most of my digital marketing predictions over the last 10 years.
Yeah. So, yeah, can you see that on the bottom of our screen? Price
Yeah, I
guide
can.
data. Is that correct?
That is it, sir. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I looked at that earlier and I was like, okay, this is it. Because at first I thought, well, this is, it's a price quoter,
Mhm.
not an estimator. But I mean, if you're the first to answer the question, it gives automatic trust. And it's like most customers just have an itch. If you
That's
help
correct.
scratch it, but I didn't think about it. And I'm glad you mentioned it. Like they can get that itch scratched, but they got to give me their email so I can continue to follow them.
That's correct, and
So,
now you've got a bigger database, and you can nurture. It's just incredible, and you'll see a lot of people, you'll get leads earlier now, and you'll get leads that are further down the funnel. I mean, you get all types of leads from an estimator. This is just one type of self-service, but self-service is the future. And listen, guys, as people are doing more of their research on AI and ChatGPT,
mhm.
the website becomes more of a conversion asset,
Okay.
potentially less of a teaching asset. And so, somebody might go to ChatGPT and they say, "Hey, I'm thinking about an in-ground pool. I need your assistance as to what type." And they go through a series of like experiences with Chat to the point where they realize, "Okay, I think I want to get a fiberglass pool, let's say." Then what they say to Chat is, "Okay, well, I live in Virginia. Um, which fiberglass pool company would you recommend near me?" Then they're going to get their recommendations, and now they're going to go to different websites. So the question is, when they come to your site, are they going to get what they want? By this point, they're ready to get the thing like the estimate,
Yeah.
and they're ready. They're much, much further along the journey than they ever were. And what's interesting is since the internet started, typically most people were already 80% through the buyer's journey by the time they reached out.
Oh, wow.
Now, because
Okay.
of AI, they're going to be even further than that 80%. It's going to get closer to that 90% range because of the availability of information.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I don't think this will ever go backward. I don't think it'll ever lessen. It's like,
Oh, no, no, not unless we all become Amish, which is totally fine, but that's the only way it would happen.
yeah. And I remind, our contractors, a home service business. I'm like, you're not competing with just the guys across town. You're competing with Amazon, with the experience
Correct.
that's frictionless, where you go, Amazon, I want this, click, clack, and it's done. And any barrier or friction you add to the process, such as how much does it cost? Well, we'll have a salesperson come out and talk to you. Like, nope, it's just too much.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And listen, it's 2025. And I would just say this, do you believe in the golden rule? If you believe in the golden rule, and if you say, "Yes, I do believe I should treat my customers as I myself would wanna be treated,"
Mhm.
well, I would say to you, do you appreciate it when you can get a general estimate as to what the thing might cost on a company's website? The answer is gonna be yes. If I said you will induce more trust, you're gonna say yes. If I said to you, is it more likely that you give them a call? You're gonna say yes. And this is why. Here's one other stat that's crazy. Because again, I got the data. Do you know that the average monthly churn for SaaS products is about 7 to 10%? Okay.
Okay.
For Price Guide, and this is because of what it is, the average churn 7%.
What?
Now,
Okay.
here's the reason though. Once a contractor starts seeing the amount of leads, they're like, "Why in the world would I stop doing this?" They literally stay with it forever. And
Yeah.
just like when I added it to my site at River Pools 3, 4, maybe 4 years ago, and everybody said it was crazy. I'm like, "This is unbelievable." And I'll get over 100 leads a day during the summertime.
Yeah. Yeah, that's moving. Hey, I want to ask you this question with this coach. So you've with Impact Group, with your public speaking, not just talking about the book, but like real in person in the consulting, you've helped thousands of companies in this process, and they ask you answer and becoming the most trusted in the marketplace. What's I would love to hear an example of what's a time where radical transparency went wrong.
Well, I think let's go back to this pricing thing. Um, when you if you talk about pricing, what you wanna do also is you wanna help them understand value. And I've always said that you should have a pricing page and a pricing video. The
Mhm.
pricing page should be very robust. It should really explain what drives cost up in an industry, what drives cost down, why some companies are expensive, why some companies are cheap. Really help them see all of what would define value and value proposition. Well, if you only just slap a couple numbers and that's all you do, and you don't teach them, well, then at that point, you might be commoditizing because they don't understand really. "Oh, okay, here's the difference. Understand the differences between these things." And if
Yeah.
you build an estimator the right way, you can do that type of same education as they go through the estimator. So that's an example of it. Another mistake that somebody could make, extreme example, if I don't suggest that you talk really negative about other companies, but I do suggest in the book that you compare yourself to other companies
Mhm.
without going negative, but just give honest comparisons as the difference between them. I would say that, but rarely, I mean, I'm telling you, it's almost impossible. It's like 0.01% of all the, people I've ever seen do this have gone into the too transparent zone. That just doesn't really
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. So when you're coaching people or when you're, in a conference setting, like even like the huge coming up, um, people that already have a business established, what
Yeah.
are the areas that are there like they're most resistant or they just screw it up if they're going to try to implement, they ask you answer into those customers?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a few different ones here. Number one, almost always their content strategy is wrong. They're not following the big five. And therefore,
Okay.
because of that, they're not really popping off on social. They're not popping off on YouTube. They're not popping off on their website. Number two, they're not taking video nearly as seriously as they should be. And they're probably not doing video the right way. And so I'm going to talk about that Summit Huge, but you got to start thinking. I'm serious about this, y'all. You have to start thinking much more like a media company.
Mhm.
Every single job, you should visually show the before and after. There's a video behind every single job, multiple videos in most cases. Most folks that are listening to this, I'd say 98 to 99% of the companies listening to this don't have a full time videographer on staff.
Yeah.
That one position, if you hired, it would revolutionize your business. Because if you're popping out videos every single day, it's a game changer, and your brand's going to blow up. But
Yeah.
most folks aren't doing it like that, and they're blaming things like, "Oh, I've got a face for radio." I'm like, "Yeah, but the problem is, you still go to that home and ask them for their money, and they got to look at you at some point. So you got no excuse." I mean, no excuse at all. And like you said earlier, said people buy from those they know, like, and trust. If the first time they see your face and hear your voice, when you're walking up their driveway and you shake their hand, you have failed them. They should
Yeah.
recognize you and they should say things like, you look just like you looked on video, or you're a little taller than I expected after seeing you on camera, whatever the thing is. But that's what they should be saying. You should be familiar to them.
Yeah.
So that should
And
happen.
it's
And
so surprising how, like, in a you don't have to be Alex Hormozy to get that done. We're not dealing with national audiences like we're dealing with. I've got a marketplace. I have a marketplace of 70,000. Most people have one. Like there's 500,000 or 1 million people in their marketplace, so it's not that hard to become known. I want to pause 1 second. I'm sorry because I got a question from Jason Huffner, and this is very specific to the show. Jason's been to the huge convention the last 4 years. He's grown a really successful business in Florida. his wife is a super fan of yours. Are you going to be around to sign his book?
I'll sign his book. I'll address it to his awesome wife. If she's there, I'll give her a hug. I'll take a photo. We'll call grandmother. Whatever we need to do.
Heck
Whatever
yeah.
we need to do.
Heck yeah. Okay. A couple of years ago, and to the point of being known, like your people should know you beforehand. It was when we first started that the strategy of getting, like focus on reviews. And I had a woman called. It was when I used to go out and give personal, estimates in person. And I showed up at the door, and she went, "Are you Sid?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And
There
she
you go.
hugged me and said,
Yes.
"I would never call anyone else. I read every one of your reviews."
Let's go.
I was like,
That's what we want right there.
"Okay, double down."
And it's podcasting is another example. This one's extreme, but I'm going to share it because it's kind of a wild story. I'm at a conference. This lady comes up to me. She's like, Marcus, I'm such a fan. I'm like, oh, that's so great. She's like, you were with me in the shower this morning. I'm like, really?
What?
She said, yes, I listen to your podcast every time I'm in the shower. I'm like, oh, that definitely clarifies it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like these are the things that you should be hearing because you're putting yourself out there. And I've got the same sentiments. It's like in terms of just people I feel like I know. They don't know me from Adam or Eve, but I know them, and that's what matters here.
Yeah.
That's what matters. That's what we're trying to. That's what we're trying to achieve. Man, we got so much to like get into it. Huge. I am so stoked about it. The amount of takeaways, and that's the thing. It's one thing to make an audience feel good. That's easy for me. But it's another thing to move them to action. My commitment is that you will have a plan and you're going to immediately say, we're going to do this. Like in the hotel room tonight, we're going to start.
Yeah.
That's the feeling you're going to have after you attend my keynote. That's my promise.
That's awesome. Hey, we're coming up, we're approaching our end of our time, so I want to be respectful. I did have this question in specifics with like if you're making video regularly or every day, and you talked about like basically having a videographer on staff, but not necessarily. So if we're pushing video, does it have the same or similar effect if those, let's say I'm doing a daily video on Facebook and Instagram, that doesn't have the same gravitas as your website, does it, or does it?
Well, let's start with YouTube. There's a strong argument, Sid, that your YouTube channel will be more important to your brand than your website will be in 5 years.
Ooh.
This could very well happen if you look at everything that's just happening in the market. For example, you've had a ton of companies that have said, gee, our website's really been affected by AI. Have you heard one person say, man, our YouTube page is getting its teeth kicked in by AI? Nope, not at all. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? And so this is why YouTube pages and just your video presence in general. So you got to look at it like, your website in many ways was always your content hub, and it will still be your content hub. YouTube is going to be a core video hub for you, and those videos are going to be spread across and repurposed on social media. And that's when you're cooking with gas, is when when you are creating one, let's say, longer form video, and then you're repurposing it and you're putting out multiple videos a day on the TikTok, on the Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, maybe it's a YouTube Reel, maybe it's a YouTube Long, right? But these are the things that we want to be doing, and this is where you've got to get. And this is what, problem is, it's not really a problem, it's great. In the world of home improvement, like as a pool guy, everybody was always just busy digging a hole.
Yeah.
And I said, instead of digging a hole, I'm going to create awareness by creating content. And that's available to all of us today. Your brand will matter more in the future than it's ever mattered before. You got to create these trust signals, my friends. And so much of that is the content that you're producing across that multiplicity of channels. But unless there's people on staff, at least one, that owns content and is obsessed with it, then you're going to lose traction. You just will.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So as we wrap up, like with that in that context, like what would be your recommendation to you got the guy's got 3 employees. He's digging the hole every day. He's trying to get off the truck, but he knows he needs to do content. What could he do? What are just some options for this guy to actually get content made that hits? A lot of people stop because they think it's got to be perfect. It's got to be,
Oh my gosh.
you know,
In fact, it works against you if it's perfect.
okay.
That guy has a camera in his pocket that is better than anything Hollywood had 20 years ago.
Yeah, no
Literally
kidding.
anything they had 20 years ago. He can start producing right now. He can go live right now. He can do now. If you really want to take it a step up, do that and hire yourself a videographer that's in the Philippines, like I have, for $1,500 a month, who's working
Mhm.
full time for me. And he's got a degree in videography. He's actually very, very good. He's living large because he's making $1,500 a month, which is a huge amount for him. He can buy a
Yeah,
house with that. And I'm getting an incredible videographer. Everybody wins, and I'm not having to do the editing. The thing that holds a lot of people up isn't necessarily the shoot, it's the edit and upload. So
yeah,
get somebody to do that for you. You get a full-time person. These days, $1,500, no brainer. That's what you should do.
boom. Okay. Um, well, let's see. What's the ideal way for people to how can they connect or follow or like how do I was almost said how do people get in touch with you? Yeah, what's your cell phone number? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah. 804. Right.
How do people follow you?
Yeah, yeah. Check me out on LinkedIn. That's where I put my best stuff.
Okay.
Always LinkedIn. You can also go to endlesscustomers.com, Marcus for the book or Amazon for the book. MarcusSheridan.com is my website if you're interested in ever having me speak to your group, your event, your company. And you've also got priceguy.ai, of course, for that incredible 300 to 500% of immediate lead increase.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's excellent. Okay, so I would love to get into it more with your journey because I read the entire bio starting in 2001, digging holes for a swim pool, and then became partner, then owner, and then up and down. And like you probably did you ever have a plan to be a keynote speaker and consultant and write a book?
It's wild, man. I never dreamt any of this, right?
Yeah,
My wife tells me all the time, she's like, "How did this happen?"
yeah,
We were struggling so much financially for many years, and my only goal was that she could go to the grocery store and wouldn't get anxiety by looking at the prices. And today she can go there. She doesn't have to worry about what the food costs, and she can get what she wants for our family. And to me, that's the essence of financial peace and prosperity. And that's really why we're saying all this is so that you can have that financial peace and prosperity in your life. You deserve it. You just can't do it like everybody else. You got to be willing to think a little bit differently, act a little bit differently. That's what this is all about. And that's what I'm going to be discussing when I come to Huge.
yeah. Well, I can't wait. I'm really excited and really grateful for your time now and on August 22nd when we see you again Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, Marcus. Thanks
Yeah.
very much.
My pleasure, Sid. Thanks.
All right. Have a great night.